Now, let's proceed further. Importance of call etiquette. May I request somebody to read this aloud for everyone?
I'll go mega. Yeah. Importance of call etiquette. It is important to be professional while interacting with employees or external stakeholders in person and on phone. Telephone etiquette makes employees well appreciated and well informed. The basics of telephone etiquette are: appreciate that the caller needs information from you, always answer with patience and enthusiasm without interrupting the person. Try to focus on the call, avoid distractions at the workplace. Prepare yourself before making a call or sharing information over a call. Ensure that you make the call or share information on receiving the call only if it is required. And the patience and enthusiasm meanings are ability to wait and not get upset due to delays, enthusiasm to have energy and excitement.
Yes. Thank you for reading. Patience and enthusiasm. When I talked about spoken communication, you these two elements are evident in your voice when you talk, especially because we are talking about a call etiquette or maybe an in-person meeting. If you are involved in spoken communication, whether you are patient or not, or whether you are enthusiastic or not, that is something which will come out from the tone of your communication. You don't need words to assess that. You can easily evaluate it just the way people speak. So these are very important elements, and you must include them in your communication. Have the patience for people to express. Show them that you are involved, interested, excited, have some enthusiasm, be interested in that communication. Only then you can generate interest. So the kind of vibration that you send across is what you receive back. It's a fact. It's science based. So the energy that you will pass on with your voice pattern, with the way you are involved in the communication, will be obviously received by other people, and they will generate it back to you. So if you want to have good engaging meetings where everybody is involved, you first have to involve yourself into it. If you are yourself not involved, you can't expect other people to be involved or interested in that. It's simple. So these two things are important, and then you obviously saw some basic etiquettes, which is avoiding distractions, paying attention, showing focus. That's also a way of respecting. If you avoid distraction and stay focused, that shows that you're giving respect to that communication, which is again important. um, let's proceed. Okay, this tells us these are the stages of listening. So the lightest, this goes in the order of like it goes deeper, and the actual one where this is the final stage, attentive listening, is where we want to reach. This is the final stage of good listening skills. But where people are, they can be at different levels. Some people can be at the level of ignoring a lot of information when they listen, so they are not able to pay attention and they lose a lot of content when they listen because of that attention problem. The second stage of listening, a little better than ignoring completely, is pretending, where you are like partially, I mean, you are there, sometimes you're there, sometimes you're not there. You may pretend that you're listening, but you're probably not listening it to the core or understanding everything that has been stated. So that's another level of listening. Then comes selective listening, where you are able to filter out where you want to pay attention and where you want to just, you know, not really think that much. That's selective listening. And then comes attentive listening. So the idea is to strive to become attentive listeners, because attentive listeners can listen more than the words. They are the ones who can pay attention on the intent of the speaker. The same way where active readers can read between the lines, they can read beyond what is stated and what could be the actual conclusion of the author, or what could be the purpose of this message, or what is the the reason for when somebody is saying it, what would they actually mean, their actual intention. You can get down to that level and you can be very accurate in your assessment, if you are actually very attentive. Otherwise, you misinterpret the message because you are selectively registering the information, whether you're listening or whether you're reading. If it's selective, you may be right at times, but you may also be wrong at other times. So the idea is to be attentive. So what is the quality of an attentive listener? Somebody who is an active listener can be called as an attentive listener. And so what do? You avoid passive listening. And we see the negative qualities of passive listeners. Passive listeners think that hearing is listening. There is a lot of difference. Hearing is you are hearing a sound, but the sound has a meaning. What is the meaning of the sound? That is listening. If it's just a sound for you, it is hearing, right? So passive listeners tend to hear, but they don't tend to actually listen. Similarly, passive readers tend to read. They read the words, but they don't follow the meaning. That is the difference in passive reading and active reading. So what do? They get easily distracted because obviously they're not following the meaning. So distraction is very easy when you're not focused. They assume that they have understood, which is also just an assumption. We do not really believe our assumptions. We should believe the facts. They don't always give feedback, of course. They have nothing to give as feedback because they have not understood. They never try to improve their connections. Because again, if you want to work around your connections, you will have to also listen. You can't only speak and develop a connection with somebody or anybody for that matter, whether it is your people in your family, your relatives, or your peers and colleagues. They will feel connected with you when you also let them express. So it can't be a one-way road, right? When it's a one-way road, people maybe just bear you because they have no option, but they may not really feel connected to you. So let's see active listening. Listen attentively, avoid distractions. This is obviously the reverse of what we saw in the previous slide. If we don't want to be a passive listener, you do the opposite of what passive listeners do. Use verbal nods to convey that you are listening. Means what? Sometimes what happens is people probably are listening, but they look at you with a very blank expression. And they never even give any confirmation that they are following, like no, no, yes, no, 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 okay, nothing. They are just absolutely mute. And if they are in person with you, they are absolutely blank. So you don't feel connection. Maybe you talk to them for a long time and they were not speaking at all, but after that meeting, you still don't feel happy about that communication. By the end of it, it gives you a feeling that maybe uh, I don't know whether they actually understood or not. Looks like they were just, waiting for me to complete and get away with it. Why? Because somewhere they were not giving any confirmation from their body language or from their, with their words or expressions or any kind of gesture, which shows that they are following you and they are interested in what you're saying. So verbal nods have their own importance. And what's a verbal nod? Like we understood, verbal means words. So saying in words, yeah, okay, really, I didn't know that. If you do that, they really enjoy sharing it with you. Somebody tells you, okay, and how do you do small talk? This is what you need to do. People, when they only talk about meetings and business all the time, they are not able to develop relationships. So to do that, first is to always start with small talk, which is like, how have you been, or what have you been doing, how was your weekend, what did you do? Now someone tells you with an excitement that, okay, we went there and there was a party and we do this and that, and you say nothing. You say, okay. So then it's an awkward pause because they don't know what they were sharing. Was it really like, I mean, what's your response to that? Sometimes people feel very awkward in those situations because they don't know what should be their reaction to it. So a verbal nod is a reaction that you should be giving at that time. You don't have to share further or ask further, but you have to at least give some response. If it's a good news, say, wow, congratulations. If it's a bad news, say, sorry, I'm sorry to hear that. Simple. But say something. Don't just say okay, because okay is not an appropriate answer. Okay. Same is Use empathy to relate to the customer situation. So again, it's the same thing. If you put yourself in their shoe, you would know how they feel, and then you can use that knowledge to make sure that your response is what they probably expect. Then paraphrase the customer's query to ensure you have understood it right. This is typically important when there is a challenging situation. So you try to communicate something to somebody on maybe a ticket correspondence or an email. Through written communication you were talking and you realize that they are not really following it, and there seems to be some misunderstanding, so you try to connect with them on the call. Now the difference in written and spoken is this: if you have called them, it's an opportunity for feedback. So of course you should, when they talk, first is not to interrupt. If you've asked them, tell me what is the issue that you're facing, can you explain it to me? Now when they're explaining it to you, you should not interrupt them. Let them complete with what they're saying and make your notes at that time. Then when once they are over with what they wanted to share, your job is to paraphrase or summarize in your own words what you understood from what they shared, because this is the opportunity to bridge the gap. This is what was lacking in written communication, where there was a gap, but you were not able to understand it because you have your own understanding and conclusion, and they have their own reasons, and it's not matching. Somewhere it's not on the same page. So, how would you come to know where you are not able to follow them? When you will paraphrase and summarize it back to them, that is when they can correct you. That is when they will say, ki, okay, this is what I meant, but no, not exactly this what I'm saying. That's not my problem. My problem is, and then they will explain you further. This gives you a lot of opportunity to bridge all the gaps and all the disconnects. So, paraphrasing their query is important in your own words. That is for a reason, so that they can check whether you are actually following them or not. Similarly, open-ended questions and close-ended questions. So, open-ended questions, if required to gain a better understanding, then you give your solution, and then you use close-ended question to ascertain that the customer has followed the situation. Can any one of you um, share your view if you've heard of it, and if you can give me an example of like what do you understand by an open-ended question versus a close-ended question? Take a guess. Or else, let me tell you, open-ended question means you ask them to explain and then they have an elaborated answer for it. For example, I'm talking to you, you are my customer. Okay, I'm telling you how a link will work. So I am on call with you and I tell you, when you click on this link, what do you see next on your screen? This is an open-ended question because now he is going to explain it to me. I don't have an expectation of the answer. Okay, this is important for better understanding. If I keep telling him that okay, you click on the link, next you will see this, next you will see that, this is exactly what I was doing in written communication also. Why did I connect with him? Because he's not following it. Maybe he's not able to see the same page what I expect him to see. There is a gap, right? So my job is to know exactly what's happening with him, not to tell him what should be the what should be the process, that this is the first step, this is the next step, this is the next. Of course you have said it already, but for some reason it's not working for them, and you need to know why and where exactly are they facing a problem. So an open ended question is very important to gain understanding of what exactly is the situation. So Sayed will tell that no. So again, there will be no argument actually, because I'm not even saying what they will see. I'm asking. Okay, I'm not telling them what they will see. I'm asking them. You click on the link, what do you see? He will say, okay, I see your page. All right. What do you see on the top left? He says, okay, I see a tab. What's written on the tab? He gives me an answer. I say, okay, what's written on the next tab? He gives me an answer. I say, good, click on that tab. So now what am I doing? This is called a way of discovery. I am trying to discover with him as if I am also accessing it for the first time. And this is an easy way for anybody who does not know. If you keep telling them this is the next tab, this is the next tab, you already know it. So it's easy for you to recall. It's tough for them to identify it at the same time because they are looking at it for the first time. When you say the next page will be this, they are still on the first page. When you say you see there's this tab, you will click, they are still locating the tab. You're already far ahead from where they are. So coming to their level and holding them up from there is your job. For anybody who is there to guide, that is what you are supposed to do. You're not supposed to teach from your own level. You have to go down to their level and pull them up from there. That is what is the right method. So open-ended question is the right approach. Then obviously you offer the solution. You tell them that okay, now this is how it is going to work. So is it working for you? This is a close-ended question. Is it working for you? The answer is either yes or no. There is no explanation. Okay. Did you get it? Did you understand it? Yes or no? There can be only two responses to it. There is no explanation to it. That's a close-ended question. Close-ended questions are asked in the end to ascertain that the person has followed the solution. Together, open-ended and close-ended will help you and the other person in making that communication successful.